right, so we are here with Rabbi Yakov Yellin Esq, who is kicking off our Summer Speakers Series this summer. We're looking very forward to having him next Shabbos, June 27th. And we just have a few questions for Rabbi Yellin to get us prepared for what to expect next Shabbos at Kiddush. Welcome, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so people have seen your very interesting bio and the speech title from Ramosha Feinstein to Mickey Mouse's lawyer. And I guess the first question is, how does your journey has a very interesting path. How does a life path like that even start? If you had to summarize it in 2 sentences, what was your trajectory? How did that happen?
Well, I had two very important elements that enabled me to do this. So number one, I always believed in taking reasonable risks, not unreasonable risks, but reasonable risks, which is how I got from Tiferes Yerushalayim to being an army chaplain, which you'll hear about, and also to practicing law. So I always believed that one should take reasonable risks in life. And number two, I had a very willing spouse, Aleha Shalom. My first wife passed away, but she was willing. So that's how we ended up on this journey. If I had a spouse who was set on staying in New York, that would not have worked. So those were the two most important elements, I think.
Two factors. Very interesting. Okay. And again, to hear the full story, you will have to come and hear the full experience. But another question. So, after decades in one of the world's largest entertainment companies, how did your Torah values continue to shape the way you approached business and leadership? Was there one particular central value that anchored you, if you had to look back?
Yeah, I would say that I was always very aware that I was the house Jew, if you will, or the company Jew in the executive suite. And maybe it's a little bit of the Hippocratic Oath motto, do no harm. I knew that I had to maintain the highest ethical values because I was visible and I was seen by many people who some really never had experience with other Yidden, that I was their representative. So my most important value was to never to do a Chil Hashem and always to do a Kiddush Hashem. That was my goal. Even when I was at my law firm for 8 years, that's what guided me. So if you pick one, that's probably it.
Very, very interesting. So, do no harm, Chil Hashem,
Right.
avoid at all cost.
Exactly.
Very nice. Okay, so without giving too much away, what's one fascinating or unexpected experience you had as Mickey Mouse's lawyer?
Yeah, I traveled extensively to um, crazy places because I was one of my responsibilities was anti-corruption enforcement. So I traveled to the highest corruption countries, which are places that most people don't regularly go. I travel to India a few times a year, China a few times a year, and other places. And it's hard to pin one because there's so many. When I started traveling to China, there were very few Westerners going to China, and again, I'd walk in the street with the yarmulke, and I weighed a little more than they did now. And Chinese then, at least, were very small, so I was sort of like a tourist attraction. People would stop me; they wanted to take pictures with me. One of them even poked me in the stomach and said, "Buddha, Buddha." So these were all experiences. Hard to pick one, but they were all unusual. Then China became like every Westerner was there, and nobody even looked at me. But that's again one of the things I would point to.
That's very interesting. When you say you were the visible Jew, did you have any qualms? You said you wore a yarmulke. Did you have any qualms about that? Was that ever a consideration for you?
No, never. I wore it. I mean, wherever I traveled, I wore it. No, I never really, I can't say I didn't think about it, but I had no qualms about it. That's who I was, and that's what I did. Maybe it would be different today. It's a different world today. Uh, but no, then I didn't. I remember in the places, well, there's some exceptions, Malaysia and Indonesia, both heavily Muslim countries where there are no Chabads. They're not legal there. Um, but in most places, it didn't matter.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, it's inspiring. So, for a final question, having learned under Moshe Feinstein, Zatzal, was there any particular lesson or teaching or behavior that you observed from him that's kind of stayed with you? When you think about him, this is what you think about, like a guiding light
Yeah.
type idea.
Yes, I would say, and this is also true of Reb David Feinstein Zatzal, who was my Rebbe. Moshe passed away in '86. I considered Reb David my Rebbe until he passed away a few years ago. It was really the normalcy of Reb Moshe, the anivus and the normalcy. If you didn't know better, you would not know you're in the presence of a Gadol B'Yisrael. I mean, he loved interacting with the high school kids. I have a picture um, over my desk where Ramosha smiling, talking to a young boy, someone who's probably in elementary school. That to me, I mean, I can't even overstate it. He's such an unav. Of course, he knew who he was. Let's not kid ourselves. But he never acted that way. I'll tell a few stories about that, including my first ever interaction I had with Ramosha. The first question I asked him, and the most embarrassing moment in my life, which occurred with Ramosha, not through any fault of his own, but that's a little bit of a nugget you'll have to wait for. But again, I would emphasize just the commonality. Ramosha, when he came to America, he never thought he'd be a gadol because the people, the Rabbonim who came, they didn't speak English and they never were able to accept rabbinic positions. He expected to be a shamus. He figured he talked about this. He expected he would be a shamus and he'd be able to learn, and that would be good enough for him. Of course, so his whole attitude was one of just normalcy and anivus, and of course, he was. That's what part of what made him so great.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Rabbi Yellin, we're looking forward to hosting you next week, and thank you so much for making the effort to come. And for the rest of the story, you'll have to come in person. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and a shout out to Lori and Harry Senster, who are sponsoring me and who are my good friends, and the reason that I am lucky enough to come to Long Beach every once in a while and daven at your shul.
Yes, we're very grateful to have them as well, 100%. Absolute double shout out.